Hey everybody, Jon Gums here with Dakota Grappler, live, coming to you on a Wednesday night. We have a special guest today, Dave Wolding, New Salem wrestling coach. We're going to talk some Class B, what I call hustle, because Class B kind of gets forgotten about sometimes because the coaches are so busy. They got to not only coach the high school, but they usually got the little kids team. They got so many other things going on at the same time. They don't have as much help, so they're like the number one for everything. But not to neglect New Salem or any of the Class B towns, but I am so happy to have Dave on and we can talk a little smack and just make sure that, you know, everybody gets their holler out there. Again, we got Bill with me. Bill's a great interview. And I like the first comment that comes up right here for you.
I knew it. I knew once it got out.
Keep your language straight, I guess. There we go. Yeah, so... right away, just those people that are watching for the first time, I know we got 23 people on right away. Feel free to ask questions. We've been doing this every Wednesday night, and every once in a while we take a break, and then we'll do a Sunday night, kind of doing what kind of schedule these other coaches have. Just want to mention right away, if you guys want to get on, if you're another coach, if you have ideas of people, I've been contacting people left and right. I do have 2 special guests coming in on Sunday. So you guys can spread the word, get the people on there. But I've got Monty and Milo Trusty coming on this Sunday evening. So we'll have some more media stuff out there. Again, there's stuff over on Dakota Grappler, some new rankings, which I'm just ready to post, but I was going to wait till probably after the show later tonight or tomorrow for Class A. Some of the Class B stuff I've been looking at, trying to put stuff together, and it's 10 times harder to do that. But over on the far side, I got Bill with me, Bill Holton again. Just enjoy having him with. Everybody pretty much knows me in North Dakota. If anybody's new on there, again, just contact Jon Gums, Dakota Grappler, or Dakota Grappler. You'll find me out there, and we can talk some wrestling. Okay, Dave or Bill, let's have you just, if you want to quick introduce yourself, then I'll have Dave introduce himself. Well,
go ahead, Bill.
Oh, yeah, Bill Holton here, coming at you from Central North Dakota. I was waiting for Dave to get started, but we were, just a beautiful day here, and we're ready to talk some wrestling. It's been a full week of wrestling, I think, and we're winding down the season. To be honest with you, it's crazy, but been able to see a little bit of wrestling and looking forward to seeing what happens next.
Okay, and then Dave, first question I've got for you as you introduce yourself is tell the people where you grew up and how you got first involved in wrestling.
All right, I grew up on a ranch south of Newtown. I went to high school in Newtown there. Wrestling was just something that all me and my brothers did. That was, we had a really good coach, a really good Pee Wee coach, Joel Skillings, who's coaching out there at Southern Minnesota State now, and he kind of got us all going out there, and before he took off, but kind of got in our ear early, and a few boys growing up in the house. That's exactly what you need, right?
At least some control, you'd say.
Right. Exactly.
No. So then what brought you to New Salem? Now start the whole process of how long you've been in New Salem and then what brought you there.
Okay. So I went to college in Dickinson State. I went there, I wrestled 118 pounds there. Same time Cody Gorder was there. He was my practice partner. Mike Pazernick was up there, Andy Bowe, Jeff Ensminger, Marty Heim. We had a, pretty good group of guys up there. Arlen Anderson was up there. Went up there to rodeo and wrestle. And I met a gal up there, and she was from New Salem. So I ended up coming this way. And that's how I ended up in New Salem. It was the girl.
Kind of happy wife, happy life situation.
You got it. You got it. That's all it knows.
Okay. Well, I tell you what, I'm so impressed with what you guys have been doing there with such a, it's a small community. What's kind of your mindset on getting young guys out for wrestling? What have you been doing in this small town?
We've just been doing a lot of things with the younger kids, just, having a lot of fun and stuff, and kind of starts there. I do some camps and stuff in the summertime, and they're not just, they're not just a solid wrestling camp. I kind of change it up a little bit, and we do some other contests and some other fun activities and whatnot. And we kind of get them to, I don't know if you want to say, you kind of draw them in a little bit. And I've always liked working with kids, and we kind of get started there. And then I do have some good help, some guys that come in, Leland Irwin does a hell of a good job with those guys. And, we just kind of start them there and kind of keep them going. That high school level, that I started with the little kids, when I first moved to New Salem. And my boys, as soon as they got old enough to put the shoes on or whatever, I was packing them along, and I was going into the high school room all the time for all their practices, just more so as a wrestling partner and just kind of that guy in the corner, and slowly kind of worked up. Coach Beckman has always been, a big deal to me all the while I wrestled in high school, and I think almost probably every kid in North Dakota high school wrestling, he's been a big part of. Just, he would always just say a few words to you that made you feel good. So then being in the same room as him, that many years later, it was kind of cool. And we, as the younger guys started coming up, we started building up our numbers, and thankfully it just kind of flowed to that next level. And I was lucky enough to be able to keep crawling up the levels, from the little kids and then doing the junior high. And I honestly, I think that's the biggest thing with our keeping numbers. I mean, I always tell the story. I remember my, the first summer there where I was the assistant coach, and me and Beckman, we were heading off to the Concordia team camp with the Nagels with Clay and heck, we threw our team in a 4-door car, and we headed out there. We had 4 kids in there, and we went down there and we wrestled for a week. We teamed up with Perm, and the kids had a blast, and we came back with the 4-door car. And the next year we went down there. We kind of graduated to a small, one of them little buses that holds about 12 people, and it didn't take long. It was about 2 years later, and we took the charter bus down. So, but it was so much fun just kind of watching those. It was all those young kids that come through that elementary level, even the preschool level. You see those kids, and they hold together, and pretty soon now you got that team. So it's kind of a neat deal.
So tell me the accomplishments New Salem's had since you. Now this is not for those people out there, not bragging. I just want people to know, the kind of successes. Do you know the number of state places you've had and the highest place your team has taken, and how many times you qualified for the duel? And
I honestly, I couldn't even tell you how many years I've been head coach, because I don't keep track of that.
Yeah.
But we've had quite a few state champs. We've had a lot of state placers. I do know for a fact that we went to state that one year, I believe, with 5 guys, and we placed 8th in state. And then I believe we were 6th, and then we were 2nd, and then we were 4th or something, and then we were 2nd, and then we were 4th last year, I believe, 3rd or 4th or something. Mm-hmm. I don't do a good job with that,
But it's a nice little run. I was thinking that you guys have been placing in the top 8 for the last 6 or 7 years. So
right. Yep. I would, yeah. And then we qualified for the duels the last 2 years. And we took second. We took second 1 year, and then I believe we took 4th. So yeah, that's been a little bit of a change too. For me, it's been a heck of a ride, because you go to the state tournament with five kids or whatever, and you come home with a trophy or something, and then pretty soon you're knocking on the door a little bit, and it's pretty neat.
No, so how about numbers wise? When I was looking through it, you guys are sitting at how many this year? About 20 some guys? How many?
Yeah, I think for a while there, I believe we're right at 32 guys in the room.
New Salem doesn't have a big room.
No, we don't. No. It's 40 by 40, and that's it. So I mean, it you don't need to crank the heaters up too much in there. She gets pretty warm, but and now we got some big bodies in there. We've always kind of been pretty stout on that little guy end. I mean, if you look at our boards, there's a lot of, from 106 to 145 pounds, we're pretty tough there, and it just seemed like them heavier guys, we just didn't have them, and now we're getting some big guys in there, and I'm telling you, they take up a little bit of room on the mat.
Yeah. I know you've had all the little guys from Gerhardt to Ingwiches, and you think of even Caden Tomac was small for a long time.
Yep.
You think of Meyer, and you think of, I'm trying to think of them all, the Mossbruckers that you had, Irwin, some of the, Cody was smaller at one time, and now he's much bigger.
Yeah, now there's little Irwin coming. So.
Little Charlie must be coming up. Charlie,
yeah.
what is he, a 7th or 8th grader this year?
He's a 7th grader this year.
Oh, yeah, because I tell you what.
Ready.
Yeah, it's crazy when you start seeing that. You guys have just matured, and I've been watching a lot of these guys. They do put in some extra time in the spring, for freestyle wrestling and the USA wrestling stuff. What does that? Can you contribute any of your success to the extra season wrestling?
Absolutely, I think 100%. Like you guys are saying, it's kind of a full-time job. We don't have the big facilities or the extra facilities. Where we can run our little kids practice. You can kind of do 2 different practices for the older kids after season, and then you do have the little kids. You got to do the little kids, and then you have the big guys come back and whatnot. So I'll tell you where the hats are off is our neighbors down there in Bismarck, Shuey and Renner and those guys. They've been so good about, hey, send your guys down. We want them guys, and we've been fortunate to be able to wrestle with those guys after the season's over, and I'm telling you, the mat time in the off season is what builds up to what you're going to see in your winter season for sure. So, like I said, we've had we've been so dang fortunate. I mean, any of those guys down there, that they're always willing to help out or lend a hand or whatever. Luke's been super good down there to us also. So
it's a great,
it seems like they're all community.
Yep.
Yeah. But yeah, no, definitely. I mean, that's definitely a huge factor. I mean, I always tell the kids, your off season is what off season camps, and we're going to make champs. That's kind of what we live by. So. Okay.
Well, I got a quick question now. Wrestling plan wise, do you kind of run the same schedule from year to year? Have you ever written down a main practice plan, or do you just go into a certain goal, certain situation? How do you start your season off, and how do you progress?
I don't know. For me, it kind of changed. I mean, because we, as you grow, I think I kind of focus on a little bit of different stuff. Obviously we set our goals, and I set my goals too on where I want to be and where I want to try and get the guys also. But I mean, I change year to year. I try to mix it up a lot, and obviously wrestling, there's a lot of tools out there, and there's a lot of wrestling going on. So the more you watch, the more things you kind of pick up on, and hey, maybe we need to be going over here or going over this way. But Berwick told me one time that he keeps files on his practice plans, and
yours are probably right here.
Yeah, a lot of them are. I do got some notebooks where I got stuff written down, and sometimes you can kind of go back to them and say, we were struggling over here or whatever. Where were we at? What did we do? Where were we at in December this time? Last year or whatever. So this kind of nice, but it's just something that I kind of set my goals in the summertime as I go around, and we do summer wrestle and see what guys are working on and in different states, and kind of go from there, bring some new stuff back.
Now I'm going to put Bill on the spot here a little bit. Now, what is your being kind of enemy territory? Carrington's kind of enemy territory for most towns. Putting you on the spot, what is your first impression of the New Salem team?
I'll be honest with you. New Salem's kind of always been Carrington's second favorite team to be.
It's not Napoleon, not Velva.
No, it's not. Well, here's the situation we had, right? Paz was the coach for a long time, and when I came into the program, Paz was the coach, and that's who I was in the room with. And when Carrington, when New Salem came to town, a lot of times they literally had 5 or 6 guys. They'd come and they've always come to the Carrington tournament. And I think, we can go way back. I think Billy's very first varsity match, or one of the very few, was against Cody Newmiller. How much fun that is as a 7th grader.
Right.
So, and they'd stay at Paz's house. This was so when, we'd go to the state tournament, I think the New Salem fans were on the dual side, were kind of, in Carrington's corner. And, so yeah, there's been no enemy. We've always gone to east. We've always gone to east-west. We've been treated well there. It's one of our favorite tournaments. My favorite tournament. Always. So yeah, not much enemy territory there. Obviously, it was. You mentioned coming to state tournament with 5 guys and taking 8th. I kind of remember them coming with 5 guys and placing in the top 5.
Right.
So that's not new territory. But now, these guys are coming with a dang near full squad, and they're really a team to be contended with. And I saw that start coming in the youth tournaments, right? We would go to a lot of youth tournaments for a lot of years and not see any New Salem kids there. There'd be New Salem kids at the New Salem tournament that they ran in the spring, and besides that, you didn't see them well, heck, I think that was run at the same time as the USA State Folkstyle tournament.
Yep, exactly.
So yeah, we didn't see them there. While we were going to state Folkstyle and bashing or getting our heads bashed in by Tech Team and Matt Pack and the Gorillas, we weren't seeing the youth coming from New Salem. Then we started to, and of course that's where I first saw Dave. So yeah, not a lot of enemy territory there, but it's a team that I've always cheered for.
Well, I tell you what, New Salem has got a great, how can you say, community for wrestling. The one year that I did teach and coach in New Salem, though, the year before Dave actually got there, which is kind of sad. I wish I'd have got to know Dave in that sense. They treated me really well. Beckman he let everything go on my side, but if I needed someone, he did put me under his wing. And that's another person I should get on here sometime is Dale Beckman. He'd be a great interview. And I tell you what, he would drive our bus is what he would do when we go to places. And so it was like I had an assistant coach when I really didn't have an assistant coach. That was the one thing that was the toughest for me in New Salem, is they didn't give me an assistant right away. They had, Pazernick actually was a volunteer, that for a little bit there. Actually, no, he might have been an official assistant, but I think they weren't going to pay him, but that's kind of the school to start. And then I tell you what, though, for the community to come up and to do the East-West, me being a first-year coach there, they pretty much put it all together. The school knew how it was run and what to do. I give New Salem 2 thumbs up for my time I spent there. I think that was awesome.
You said, I mean, our parents have been huge as far as for me, because when we started, like you said, the youth tournaments, Bill was saying the youth tournaments, we kind of had a Class B schedule. It was almost like we had the Richardson little kids tournament, and then we'd have the Hazen tournament. We would have the Killdeer tournament. We would kind of go amongst our, the smaller schools, and we'd go wrestle the kids and come home. And that was kind of our season. And I kind of had the mindset a little bit, with that, not saying that we weren't wrestling the best, but we were going to go, and you were probably seeing the same 3, 4, 5 kids every week. And when we brought it to the parents, I said, we want to start going to these USA tournaments. Some of that was kind of it was like kind of like when we started to want to wrestle Class A kids, and there was always some that were, well, I don't know about that. That's Class A.
Hesitant a little bit. Yep.
And it was like, hey, you know what? We can compete with these guys. I got all the faith in the world in my guys. We'll wrestle anybody. I don't care. And boy, it didn't take long, and pretty soon they were bought in, and I mean, they were putting miles and miles on their vehicles, hauling them around, like everybody else was. And then the next thing you know, I mean, not only was our wrestling getting better, but pretty soon now, I mean, we got a ton of kids. I mean, when they're on the bus, they're looking at the Class A brackets, looking to see who their buddies are wrestling tonight. I mean, when we went to Legacy, there was a lot of buddies. We wrestled a lot of good friends down there and stuff like that. So that was kind of big on our parents to jump on board and kind of go with that. And that is a community that we have. We have a strong wrestling community here. We go to our matches. I told Monk when we came down, or I was telling you, John, too, that that Legacy duel when we came down, there's no doubt in my mind that we would have brought a ton of fans down. That little gym, or that big gym, I should say. We got the little gym. That gym would have been full. And I mean, it wasn't just New Salem and Legacy parents either. It would have been the Bismarcks, the Mandans.
I would have been there.
So yeah, it's a great thing. I think we got a good thing going.
Yeah, you guys got a great wrestling culture, and when you're able to bring the youth through the youth program, and I think it builds excitement when these kids get to go and and bang heads with everybody around the state. I think that helps keep kids in the sport. I really do. I think that they become real committed. They see what's possible out there, and it's harder to go to. I think there's other sports that happen in the winter. I don't remember, but sometimes these kids leave and go to another sport, and we can build some excitement, and I think that's probably what you've done out there, and it kept kids in the in the wrestling room, and wrestling, and now we're starting to see a few hit the college mats, and it's big. It just shows them what's possible, and you've done a great job there with that.
Well, I tell you what, you've added some flavor to Region 4. Region 4 for a couple of years was down, and then was kind of the other coaches kind of were. That's the region that is not producing, and they thought about moving teams and whatever. And Randy Berwick said, "Hey, don't worry about that. With this region, will be just fine." Yeah. And because guess what? They're willing to compete against anybody. It takes away that fear factor that some kids have. If you've already faced the best, during the season, what is it if you're facing a tough guy? He's not the best. Just go take it to him. You've already faced the best. There should be no fear, and that's one of those hurdles that some wrestlers have to get over. And I've noticed the teams that do step into those tournaments, the Headingers, you guys, some of the teams that are missing it, they don't get over that next hurdle. It's a big step. I think you've done a great job.
Right. Well, like I said, we've had a lot of super good help, and even on the school side. I mean, when you go to the AD and say you want to take your guys to the Rumble on the Red, and they come up and they're like, really? And then we come home and we're like, yeah, we placed in the top 10. That was pretty cool, So, I mean, yeah, we've had a lot of help though.
Okay. No, I tell you what, I got a couple things I want to ask you. Actually, Bill, before I go into mine, I want to get into your history a little bit more too, with your upbringing as a cowboy and kind of the combination. But Bill, do you have any questions before I ask? Couple questions?
No, that sounds exciting. I want to hear.
Well,
it ain't exciting, Bill. I'll tell you that.
Well, the reason I ask is, do you see some correlation between being a cowboy and wrestling? That's the first part. Do you think that there's a great connection? I wish we had more. I tell you what, some of my toughest wrestlers I've ever had were either farm kids or cowboys.
Right. I think the work ethic. I mean, number one. I mean, you got to be tough, but and not just physically, but if you do follow the egg world a little bit, it's up and down and all around. So mentally, you gotta be able to kind of keep that intact. Also, your markets, and with this COVID, and then there's all kinds of different factors that play into your livelihood. So mentally, you got to be pretty tough. Physically, I don't know. I've always said them farm kids, man, it's kind of like getting this old man strength. You get that old man strength and you get that farm kid strength, right?
Yeah.
So I think the work ethic is super good. And, I'm not going to lie to you. There's a lot of our wrestlers in the summertime where I invite them out to come and help. And you know what? A lot of them like it. So, We don't make square bales because we have to, you know. A lot of times we make square bales so that they got something to pick up.
That's you make them believe, yeah.
Right.
No, I tell you what, I grew up on a farm until I was 12, and then I stopped being strong. I moved to the big city of Napoleon, and it just all went away. No, just kidding. No, another quick question though for you. How about being involved in more than one sport? I see your boys have always played other sports, done other things. What kind of commitment does that take in your belief in the sports?
It does, and I'm a firm believer in multi-sports. I mean, I think each sport has its place for sure, and not only that, but it keeps that kid busy, gives them something to do other than, you know, sitting on a phone or sitting in front of a computer. They're outside. They're interacting with other kids. I'm a football fan. I mean, I help coach football also, and you know that you can see it on our football field. You know, the basketball players. I love playing basketball. I'm not good at it. Our wrestlers. I mean, over Christmas break, we get a little basketball tournament going. You know, and they get along with a lot. You know, all them guys. And then in the springtime, you roll into some track or golf or your spring wrestling. I always said that dang golf. If you ever played golf before, try and figure that out. And how you can have a good shot here and then 6 bad shots, and you're ready to throw the club and tip the cart over or whatever, and then you get that one good shot, and you know. Man, it's kind of a mental game, or you got somebody watching you to make a putt, and if you make that putt, you might win something or whatever. But you know, I believe in them multi-sported kids. I mean, get them kids out, let them do something, let them figure it out. You know, and I've always said that to my junior high kids that have played basketball and wrestled in their junior high season. If they're on the fence, go play basketball. You know, go play basketball. So you figure out what you want to do. I'll always come watch you play basketball. Don't get me wrong. I want you to be in the room, you know, worse than anything. But I always tell them, you know, whatever you decide, that's kind of on you. So, but deep down, I want to shut the door and tell them, don't go grab that ball. But, you know, at least they're doing something. You see it in those kids for sure.
Definitely. Well, I enjoyed watching. Now, New Salem's had a great football team the last few years. And I was watching one of the playoff games. I don't know if it was on Beck or whichever one, but I think it was, if I remember right, Wyatt Ingwich lit somebody up. And they said, that guy can't weigh 100 pounds. And
right.
He said, and he took out that fullback, like some 200-pound fullback. And they yelled, Wyatt Ingwich, he must be a wrestler. And I'm going, yes, that's exactly right.
Yep. No, I tell you, you can see it in the tack. I mean, our football team's very well coached. Kids play hard, but I mean, you kind of look at our backfield or our defensive backs, you know, kind of our linebackers that we've had the last few years, and you know, a lot of them are wrestlers, and their tackling is nice, and Coach Klein, he appreciates that, and when they're not tackling very good, you do hear once in a while, what's wrong with your wrestlers? So, but yeah, no, I think athletically all the way around, you know, New Salem's been pretty dang solid and everything. So,
yes. How about the classes? How big are the classes right now in New Salem? Give somebody a perspective that's out there. How many kids are really in the high school?
Well, I'm probably going to lie to you now. I'm not exactly sure how big the classes are. I'm going to say they're anywhere from 19 to the high 20s, you know.
Mm-hmm.
My wife,
that's what I predicted, somewhere in that range.
Right. And, you know, there's a lot of those classes that they're real heavy on the girls, and they're not real heavy on the boys. And it's hard, you know, as far as trying to pull some bodies out and stuff like that. So when you do get some numbers, we're pretty happy with where we're at, and don't get me wrong, the door's always open, and we're always looking for that kid that after school he's got his books and he's heading out the door. He's not going to basketball practice or wrestling practice, and it's like, hey man, why don't you come on, check this out, you know? So and don't get me wrong, we have those guys in the room. So
that is great. No, I tell you what, that's usually the battle in a small school. Now, this is maybe a controversial question a little bit. Would it benefit Class B wrestling if we reduced the numbers, like total weight classes? No, you can answer that too, Bill. What do you think?
Absolutely.
What do you think, Dave?
Yeah, I'm thinking it probably would. I mean, the teams would definitely fill up, you know.
Yeah, I think it'd do a lot of things, right? Well, one, I think it makes the duels going to be more competitive. We're going to have a better chance of every single duel. Not that it's going to be every single duel, but closer to every single duel being an actual competitive event, which creates excitement in the stands. It creates excitement in the school. I've been as bad as a lot of people, right? There's a duel going on that I should be going to town for, and I just know what it is, and I'm not going, right? I can stay home and try to follow it, but I think overall, I think it would be better. I think is it great when a seventh grader, eighth grader, senior, doesn't matter who it is, can find a spot on that varsity lineup? Yeah, but just because you go to practice every day doesn't mean you're the starter in the varsity lineup. It doesn't happen in any other sport. To expect that we in most of these Class B schools, and honestly, Class A schools are not a whole lot different around the state, are going to fill up a 14-man roster in 14 different weights. If we asked our basketball teams to fill out a roster with 14 different sizes, they couldn't do it.
Right.
So to expect that we could do it in wrestling it's just about impossible. Now, it's coming from a school that we've had full weight classes a lot of times, but that doesn't mean we had 14 guys that are have to be starters in the league.
And I know some people have battled it over the years, but I think there's two major things that we'd have to show up in wrestling to do that. One of the major parts of shoring up going to less weight classes is making sure that we have JV matches.
Absolutely. There could be JV matches.
Because here's what's interesting is this year I see the big glaring, how could you say, the bad part of wrestling right now. Our JV wrestlers right now, that's COVID. It is COVID, but our JV wrestlers are not getting the matches, especially in Class A in the West. We got guys in our room that got one match on the year, and they're there every practice. We just don't have a place for them to wrestle, and it's going to be a downfall to Class A wrestling this year if we can't get it changed somehow. Right. We have guys in the varsity team that got 6 matches in Class A. We got to have more competition in that sense. Now the coaches, I think, and I've talked to several of them, are doing a good job to keep their kids enthused and loving the sport and having fun. But to me, what is the end all result? If you're sitting on the bench and you watch a few other people wrestle, you're not in it. You're not committed anymore to the sport as you were previous. And so I'm scared of that part with the JV too. If you have less weight classes and guys aren't competing, you have to have a system to get them matches. So, number 2, the second thing I was thinking about was we also then need to expand like Class A does. And that is at the state wrestling tournament qualifying 3 more. For example, if you went down to 11 weight classes in Class B, perfectly fine. But guess what? You still can qualify 3 more at the region time. And then you don't have to worry about people crossing over double weights. We got 2 great guys at 152, and now it goes between 150 and 160. We can't, well, guess what? Class A has solved that, and it's been a great thing. It's been gold for Class A to have an opportunity for some of those guys who've wrestled all year long and get a chance to still qualify and wrestle at a region. I don't know. Those are the 2 things I feel that could help Class B wrestling get down weight classes. I don't think that Class A and Class B have to be the same number of weight classes. I think that they have 2 different situations. I'm sorry that the cookie doesn't fit the whatever. How do you say it in the mold sometimes? You know how that is?
Right. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I kind of agree with you there. I mean, it's kind of like you got your 9-man football and you got your 11-man football. You got your roster size or your class sizes, and I mean, I agree with you, Bill, as far as going to watch a duel. Nobody wants to go and watch a duel where there's going to be you might even have 2 teams show up, and one team's got 5 guys, one team's got 7 guys, but you only see 3 matches.
Mhm.
Yep.
And with this whole COVID deal and these junior high kids, I mean, yeah, it super tough. I mean, we were Coach Irwin Leland, he was running kids all over the state, just, grabbing matches or mixing matches. I mean, that is where the wrestling coaches did a great job as far as getting those mixing matches and stuff. And I know we usually do come down to Bismarck, and we're lucky to be that close, and for all those junior high mixing matches, and we never got any of those this year. And I'm still hauling those guys around. We're bringing them along to our duels and telling them other teams, hey, bring all your guys along, and we'll make matches. We're going to try and get it. Even their varsity guys are wrestling our, the JV guys and whatnot, trying to get them matches. But man, I'll tell you, it on that Class A side where they're not letting them go wrestle tournaments, and I don't know. I mean, you hear different things where the WDA's got to stay on the west side, and the EDA, they got their own deal and whatnot. Well, I tell you, that makes for a really tough season. Really tough.
Well, I tell you what, we don't know what's going to happen. State tournament weekend, let's say a guy wrestles because we're going to have 32-man brackets in Class A also. So let's say he's a good wrestler, gets 6 matches on that weekend. He might have only had 6 matches going into it. Some of these guys, or 8 matches. That's for the whole year. Now you got to get that in 2 days. And then the following day, try to get a duel. Now, if you're one of the better duel teams, you're going to get 4 duels for sure.
Yep.
And I don't know how they're going to be in shape, how they're going to handle it mentally, physically. You're going to set kids up maybe to get injured because they're not ready physically. Just total physically, they're not ready for that type of competition. Your body goes through something different when you have to have 4 matches in a day when they've only allowed us had 2. The match that they've pretty much allowed us to do is pretty much 2 matches, 2 duels, tries is all in Class A. So I don't know, they're setting themselves up bad for something. So I'm hoping I'm praying that the things work out.
Then you throw a 3-day weigh-in at them too yet.
Right. That's the tough one. Yeah.
A lot of those guys haven't even seen a 2-day weigh-in, and now we're throwing all those matches, bang, bang, bang at them. You look at that state wrestling schedule, and I mean, I didn't study it, but it looks to me like you better, if you do, we're taking our full teams to the state tournament. Better have a few coaches in your back pocket also, because you're going to have some kids wrestling all over the mats, and then you even get to the finals. I mean, there's a lot of times, you guys know it, that you got kids back to back in 2, 3, 4 weight classes that make the finals. Well, now you got them both wrestling on a mat. I mean, where do you want to? I mean, you're trying to, those kids have worked hard. I mean,
and I know they're going to hustle things through 12 mats. One coach can't handle that. 2 is almost impossible. You're going to have, if you've got, and usually how wrestling teams work, if people don't understand this, they're in groups. Usually the successful wrestlers, you'll have a 6'13" and a 19-pounder all together. And then you'll have a 38, 45, 52. And it kind of works that way. So guess what? They're going to be wrestling at the same time. And if you have 1-on-1, because it's all Class B, and then 1 over on 12, that's going to be impossible. 2 different sides of the gym completely. It's good. That's you're gonna need some good help, and I'd start searching for it now, and hopefully they allow it, because Friday's the last day to get tickets. Got to understand, you got to get them in advance. There's none at the door. They're restricting some media stuff. That's another thing I've kind of found out. So right now, Bill, you're my top man. I got you media. It's me and you. But I have had other people who I want to get help. But here's what's interesting. They also haven't had a concrete schedule. I don't know if you know this yet, Dave, but unless it happened in the last day, I talked to High School Activities Association. Their first plan was to do 2 sessions each day. Go Class B in the morning on the first day, then Class A the second session first day. But then the next morning they wanted Class A to go first and then Class B. But you can't have the guys go late with Class A and then wake up the next morning. Right. That was their first proposed.
I have it right here.
Hey, bring it out now.
Let me try to see if we can share the screen here.
Can you, if you can, from yours?
Yeah.
Definitely.
So if you pull that up.
There we go. That must have just came out today. I didn't see that.
Yeah, I was gonna look. I was looking for it the other day, but yeah. So you can see that they do have on Thursday. It'll be session 1 will be Class B from 9 o'clock till 12:45, and then, or whenever it ends, I guess. And then Class A will start at 3:30, go till 7. They'll go till 8, 9 o'clock, I suppose.
Yep.
And then again on Friday, it's Class B's in the morning.
Nice 6:30 weigh-in, or 6:30 open to wrestlers. So it says 7:30.
Look at that.
But see, here's what's interesting.
Finals at 8:30 in the morning.
There's already one mistake, and if High School Activities Association is watching, never mess a schedule up for a coach. Weigh-ins need to be the same time every day. We're too dang busy to look back at a schedule. If weigh-ins were 7 o'clock the first day or 8 o'clock, they need to be 8 o'clock the next day. But no, it's 7:30 the next day. It's messing things up. And then you go 9 o'clock the next day. No, keep it the same time.
Right.
I'm sorry, but I had the schedule like this. This happened to my year in New Salem, and I'm really mad at myself for this. And I shouldn't even say this, but so New Salem and I went to state wrestling tournament, and I had 6 wrestlers all coming back to the blood round on Saturday morning. We weighed in, and they didn't give us that full, like you get an hour or between weigh-ins and not. They only gave us a half hour that morning. Basically, you were done with weigh-ins, and kids didn't bring food because we stayed in Bismarck. They didn't bring their normal coolers. If we'd been coming from New Salem, they would have had coolers. So I had a couple kids who wanted to go to Burger King real quick, which is just a block away from the Civic Center because it was in Bismarck. And then all of a sudden, and one is is Seeger, not Mike Seeger, but Nate Seeger's a 7th or 8th grader, and this is his blood round match, and he's coming back with a burger in his hand or a McMuffin or whatever it was, and he steps on the mat as he's eating it, and he loses that match and does not place. And I was so upset that year. I lost out of those 6 matches. I lost 5 out of the 6. I only had 1 state placer the year I'm there, and all those kids were young. But guess what? It was like a disaster because they changed the schedule, the weigh-in schedule that morning. And the next year I went there, and I wasn't a coach. I was in Mandan at the time, and I made that right away. I said, you cannot change that schedule. What do you mean? The coaches go, yeah, it messes people up. So they're doing it again here. Long story short.
Like they just can't cram it fast enough. I mean, I don't know. And don't get me wrong, everybody's in the same boat. It's a fair playing field, but I mean, how often? I mean, I don't know. I mean, we've all wrestled in some big tournaments, but a 8:30 semifinal round.
8:30 semifinal is the one that stands out to me.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, that's the one that stands out to me. That's going to be
that Friday morning semifinal at 8:30. When we all dealing with, oh boy, that is a tough one there.
Yep. Now. Actually, what I probably would worry about more than that is that, these kids should come in weight rise, should be just fine, but they're off they're not doing anything from 12:40. I mean, from the quarterfinals, they're going to get done at 1 o'clock, 1:30 on Thursday, and then you got that's a long time in the hotel.
Scroll down just a little bit so I can look at the Class A compared to the Class B. For second bill. So I can see them two side by side. Okay. So you're saying basically there's a 45-minute break between when the Class B, because the way he had told me from the High School Activities Association was that they're actually gonna ask the fans to leave.
Yeah, fans will leave. I think I heard that I don't see if it says it on here, but I did hear that the wrestlers could stay.
Oh, really?
But of course they'll be in the back part of the dome, so they could, but that's whatever it is. I'm glad I'm not a coach.
But it looks like the round of 32 actually starts at 3:30 with weigh-ins at 1:30.
Weigh-in at 1:30. Yeah.
Actually, there's about 2 hour and 45-minute break between Class B. Well, the start of that round actually. So let's say that round takes an hour 15. There kind of looks like they're scheduling.
Yeah.
Okay. So then you're saying probably a good hour and a half break between the two.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's good to know. I didn't know this was out there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm just glad we're gonna get to a state tournament. Don't get me wrong, but it creates some challenges for the coaches and the athletes.
Right.
And then,
No, I agree. I think when I saw that, right away you kind of want to flip a little bit, and then it's like, well, you know what? I was so happy when we got our first weekend of wrestling in, and then I was happy when we got a duel in, and then I was happy when we got another match.
Right.
Now it's almost, we're getting kind of right towards the end, so we are kind of looking at the big picture now. But the other thing is too, all these kids have worked pretty dang hard, and you want to give them the best shot and the best show at the end. There's some pretty dang good seniors that are going to graduate this year that it literally kind of breaks my heart. I mean, you take a Reese Barnhart from St. Mary's, and some of those guys, and it's like, man. It's just the season that didn't happen,
Mm-hmm.
So, but like I said, I mean, I'm grateful that we got the matches. I'm grateful that we got to go to some tournaments, and I do feel for the a lot of the Class A wrestlers that they didn't get to have tournaments and stuff like that. So,
yep.
But
well, here's one thing I want to do. I don't know, Bill, if you've got something right away, but I would like to go through kind of your roster, and instead of kind of want to give you one or two words or maybe a small statement about some of your wrestlers. I have a list, but I don't know who's not on there. So I'm going to let you go through a little bit. Well, let me just go, because I don't know if anybody quit. So I apologize if I mention a name if they're not on the team anymore, but give me a couple words about Charlie Irwin.
Charlie?
Yep.
Charlie. I could tell you a story about Charlie.
Okay, that we can handle that. We got time.
Charlie. Oh no, it might even been Cody. I remember one time, I couldn't find these kids. These kids, they go to the tournament. Charlie's a good one. Or he would go to a tournament and you just couldn't find him. Like he would there are a lot of times he'd be underneath bleachers or and I'm gonna tell this story. And if Coach Paz, if Paz is listening, he's gonna buzz me here right shortly. But it was either Cody or Charlie. I couldn't find them. They were supposed to be wrestling a match. And here I found whatever one it was, and they were in the garbage can. They were in digging through the garbage can, and they pulled a hot dog out. And it was a full hot dog. And I said, we got a match over here. Come on, we got to get going. So he handed that hot dog to Paz, told me bought him a hot dog. I didn't eat that hot dog. One of the stories that Roxy and I talk about that one quite often or whatever, because we saw it all go down or whatever, and I'm not so sure he knows or if I ever told him or not. But Charlie's just one of those that he's tough, and he's like a barn cat. That's what I'm gonna call Charlie. Charlie's a barn cat. I mean, I'll put him up against anybody. And the tougher the kid is, like we got many our duels this year. He's so worried about who's going to get to wrestle. If he's a really good 6-pounder, man, am I going to get to wrestle? Can I please wrestle him? He wants to always wrestle the tough kids, and Charlie is tough. He's a barn cat, that one.
Okay. How about Wyatt Ingwich?
Wyatt is man, I'll tell you, if you had a 14 Wyatt Ingwiches, man, Wyatt is solid. I mean, that kid, he puts his time in. He's one of those kids that him and I got another one or a couple of them, most of them, but when you say something to them, I mean, they're looking you in the eye, and it's absorbing between the ears, whether it's a win or a loss. He puts the work in, the off season, on season, he doesn't care. That kid is tough.
Yep.
So,
okay, Cole Gerhardt.
That's another one. You can tell that they're partners, right? I mean, Cole is another one of those that when you're talking to him, he's kind of got the face of a mean bulldog, and he's looking you in the eyes, and when you can get him amped up pretty good, and he's ready to rock and roll. Typically, Cole takes care of Cole. If I was putting the green leg band on and Cole's putting the red one on, and it was a spotlight coming down and there's one mat, I'm a little nervous, because when one mat and there's a light, that kid, he just cranks it up 10 levels, man. So
no, as talent, we've actually had a little nickname for him. We call him Squeaky.
Okay, you call him Little Bulldog.
Yeah, he always kind of had that high squeakier voice when he was young. So he kind of around our household, we call him Squeaky of the two Gerhardts, of course.
right?
Clay and Cole, and Clay was a stud for many years there, but I know he's graduated. How about Mr. Meyer?
Ethan?
Yep.
Yep. No, Ethan, you can pretty much read him in the eyes, man. Ethan was one that he put a lot of work in this summer. There was a lot of times in the summertime I'd go to work out and I'd always text him, hey, you want to come along? Or he would text me and ask if, what time I was going to work out or whatever, and he'd want to come with. And Ethan is definitely a student of the game. And he's so fun to watch. He is just, he's so athletic, put it that way. Ethan is athletic.
Good.
So.
How about Riley Dahl, another one of your sophomores?
Riley?
Yep. Riley's
got to be the hardest kid in the world to wrestle. I actually wrestled a match with Riley tonight. And I mean, Riley just has, he has a stance to him, and he has a way of doing things that it's hard to teach, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Kind of got that style. And I'll tell you, he had a good match with Cade Warbus last night, and it was kind of a little bit of a dogfight. And Riley had a slow start this year because he had a concussion. And I'm telling you that he's got it between the ears. He wants it, and he's gonna get it. So, yeah.
Okay. Caden Tomac.
Tomac was my first co-op school that I grabbed, and that was Sweetbriar. I don't know if you guys know where Sweetbriar is, but
I didn't know that he's a Sweetbriar boy.
Yep. I heard that Sweetbriar, I think they had 12 kids in the school that year, and I knew there was a little boy that wanted to wrestle. So I went to the athletic director and the school board and said I wanted to co-op with Sweetbriar. And pretty soon this little blonde-haired kid come wheeling in with a smile. I mean, he's got a smile and just a great kid. He's got the biggest heart in the whole world. And he's hitting a corner. He's hitting a corner at the right time of the year. Yep, he's getting takedown. I mean, I think we can all agree that in the Class B side, the 138-pound weight class is just an absolute. I mean, it's going to be a dogfight. And I'm telling you, we've wrestled the number 1 all the way down to the number 6, and he's gotten takedowns on all of them. So and good for him, because he's a hardworking, great kid.
And then there's that I saw him get a couple of matches at Colton Coons.
Colton Kuntz, yep. Colton's another one. He's he works for the neighbor over here in the summertime. He's he's a good, strong farm kid that now he's been spending some time in the gym. I always say, he grew himself a nice mullet and then he curled it the other day, and he's got a mustache and everything else. He's kind of that kid that if we need something in a duel, he's going to get it for you. He grinds.
Cody Irwin. Is he junior or senior this year? Junior, I think, right?
Cody's a junior.
Okay.
Yep. I would say Cody's kind of a silent little killer. He doesn't say much. He's pretty quiet, but I'm telling you, when he hits the mat, he's opened up his wrestling. He's been wrestling hard. I think this is the first season so far that he's ever had that he's been injury free. So it's almost in the back of his mind a little bit. When's it going to happen? When I'm going to have something that I got to be nursing or whatever. But and I'll tell you, Cody's really stepped up as a leader on this team too. And our morning workouts and stuff, he's real good about getting the guys going. So
what's crazy about this team, it's only going to get better because the fact that what do you have, just one senior? Do you have any?
I got a backup or a heavyweight to come out at center. He's a senior. He
Jacobson
in his shoulder, so he's got shoulder surgery coming. But he's a senior. And then last year we got a 95-pounder, Isaac Wolf, that came out, and he's got a couple matches for us. But so yeah, I mean, we got those two guys. But guys that have been in the room for years. I mean, we really don't have any seniors on that end of it.
Another one of your middleweights, that Hammond's kid. That's another Ethan, isn't it?
Yep. Ethan Hammonds. Man, is he fun. I mean, he's so athletic. He's kind of like Meyer. He's so athletic. He's so quick. He's kind of got a wild style to him a little bit. He was kind of fun to watch. I mean, the score didn't show it, but I believe he wrestled Cattermas down in at Legacy there, and that was the match that kind of woke Ethan up to let him know that we gotta use a little bit more technique versus the flying style. Ethan is the one that I would love to get him going this spring on some freestyle. He's so athletic and he's got such good hips. Great kid, super great kid.
Okay. Let me see. Who else did I see in there? I think I saw an Olander.
Mason. Yep. Okay. Mason Olander. He's another one of my center boys. He's been wrestling forever. He's kind of Dave Hilliard's little sidekick. I get Coach Hilliard, he'll bust him down once in a while. So then I'll get him to come into practice and, they got a pretty good bond there. And Mason is tough. I mean, Mason is one of those that I think right now on the Class B side, he's probably on the small end of a 70-pounder, and it just doesn't bother him. You kind of wait for the day where he says, maybe I want to come down a little bit. But, he wrestled Mertz the other day to 3 or 4 points or something. I mean, he's I'll tell you what, just watch him because he's right there in the mix. So,
and the other one, when I was going through your roster earlier, I recognized the name just because of a quarterback. It's not Taysom Hill, it's Taysom Clot.
Yep. He started wrestling here 2 years ago. He's our 182 pounder, and his little brother's our 106 pounder. Him and we got like 4 or 5 106 pounders. Trenton Klatt.
Okay.
You've probably seen him at the USA tournaments. That's his little brother. So we got the little guy and the big guy, and I'm telling you that Tayson's one of the strongest kids on the team. Him and Ingwich are kind of gym rats together.
Weightlifting buddies.
Yep. It's kind of funny to watch them come in and out of the gym. You got your 111-pound kid, and then you got your 178-pound kid. And they're together all the time. So, but Tayson is definitely he's learning. He's learning, and once it starts clicking, he had a great match with Pecos last night, and he's starting to get some confidence at the right time. I mean, it's coming. So
now, is Cole Nagel one of the center boys?
Yes. Yep.
Because I think I know his dad real well. Then
I bet you do. I mean, he looks a lot like his dad, Joey Nagel.
Yep.
Okay. Yep. And if I'm not mistaken, I think his dad was a state champ, up in center.
That is correct.
Okay. And then I think he had an uncle too, Jerry. Yep. Jerry Nagel was a great wrestler also. So Cole wrestled all the way through his grade school, and pretty soon, I think he was kind of the story that he gave me. He really didn't have many partners in the wrestling room, and he started playing ball, and he's that kid. He's a very athletic kid, and I know they miss him on the basketball court this year, but I'll tell you, there's not one practice so far that him and his partner Lane, the Huber kid that came out, that they don't stop at before they walk out the room and they say thank you, and I can't wait for practice tomorrow, and then when they come, they just want to learn, they just want to learn more. So
well, that is pretty cool. I had Jerry and Joe as my camp counselors at Camp of the Cross when
really
we had Ed and Lou Bannock were our camp counselors going back a long time ago up at Garrison.
Okay.
Camp of the Cross. Guy. Yep. Terry and Troy Steiner were also in our cabin.
Oh wow.
Yep. That was
awesome.
And then somebody was the head coach in Beulah, Sean Voigt.
Yep, Sean. Yep.
Sean Voigt. And then we also had a chiropractor now that's in Beulah. Me think of his name now. Oh no, I'm going to lose it. He advertises for me too, so I'm going mind break. But
not anymore.
No, yeah, he's gone. Yep. But no, I mean, it's interesting. It's a small world, and I have talked to the Nagel several times over the past. How about then AJ?
Yep, we got Big AJ, Big Al.
Now, what has he been weighing this year?
Big Al, he's down to that. He's right at that 280.
Okay.
No, Denise, and the thing with him, I mean,
DJ Erickson. Thank you, Jason Dahl. That's what it was. DJ was in our cabin too. That's who it was.
right? AJ's stretched up, man. I'm telling you, he's fast, he's strong, super athletic on the football field. He dominated up there. He hurt his knee a little bit earlier this year, so we've been being a little bit careful on it. But AJ looks good. He had a nice match with Miller from Kenmare here last week, and finally got to go. I was thankful. I told Mogren, man, I'm thanking you. I owe you for that one, because they went to the third period and we needed that. You know how that is. So
and people don't realize he's just a sophomore.
He's just a sophomore. Yep, we got that sophomore class of.
Got a great sophomore class.
It's a very good sophomore class. In fact, our 95-pounder that came over with Cole and Mason and Ethan, Lane Huber, his grandpa, I believe it's his grandpa Lloyd Huber. He was a state champ for Coach Beckman, and he's just a freshman. And I'll tell you, he's just, him and Cole are kind of pocket to pocket, and it's kind of a competition all the time. And he got a big win in Hettinger, won the tournament there, and then went to Harvey and he won the tournament there. So he got that long sleeve shirt, and then he got a medal. And oh boy, I'm telling you, he's ready to rock and roll. And so you take those guys, you take them big guys like that. And I was just talking to Beckman just yesterday, and I said, when has New Salem ever had, from pretty much from 95 or 82 all the way up to heavyweight, and then we got our smaller weights, and then you throw that sophomore class. I mean, the Nagel, the AJ, the Huber's only a freshman, Ty's a sophomore, Riley Dahl's a sophomore, Ethan Meyer's a freshman. It's a young team, and those guys, and they're good buddies. That's the biggest thing. They play football together. They hang out together, and they all just feed off of each other. So,
no, that's awesome.
Kind of got off track there, but yeah, Big Al, he's a beast. And
I didn't want to miss anybody else on the list. If there's anybody else in there, I
think
a Norton kid,
Ty Wolding.
Oh, there's a Wolding kid on that roster.
Yeah,
I know that.
We should talk about him.
It's hard to talk about your own kids.
Yeah, it is. It is. Ty put a lot of work in the off season. I'll tell you, I don't know where his genes came from, man. I used to. It was always fun when Tate and Chauncey and Clay and those guys. We're all kind of in the mix. It was fun to roll around, jump in their group, and wrestle with them all the time. And then all of a sudden, Meathead comes, and
he's a little bigger.
I went from having a 130-pound kid to a 160, 70-pound kid that's pretty lean, and he's still a little boy, but he's not. So he's coming around pretty good. I mean, he had a really nice match with Stugelmeyer from Legacy, and he said, I've never wrestled a kid that strong before, and so it was nice to see that. And
that's his one loss is to Stugelmeyer.
Yep.
Because that's Stugelmeyer. I tell you what, he could win it. He's tough. I've watched him wrestle enough, and he's got an extra motor, and he's got kind of a natural ability because he hasn't wrestled that long. He hasn't done a lot of the spring stuff. He's so natural of an athlete. I think he's just unbelievable. I think the sky's the limit for that kid.
Yeah, is he a senior this year?
No, I wish he was, because he's about my son's size. He's a junior.
Yep. He's a junior. Okay. Yeah, because all right. Yeah, no, there's going to be some battles down there.
Oh yeah, he is probably, if I had to pick a guy that was underestimated going into this season, that's pretty much him. He could win it. It's very possible.
Right.
He's good enough. Now Renner's in that weight. The weight class is really loaded. There's a lot of good wrestlers.
He's got to get by that Renner kid, and I'm telling you, that Renner kid is tough.
Oh yeah, and I know that. But here's what's interesting. You also, and I really don't think Muse is going to wrestle 60. Now I'll get a confirmation with that. But Muse caught Renner in a good match. I mean, it was a 4-3 match before Renner pretty much. They've got the sit back series in the half, and he caught himself. He reached back and got a defensive pin, and he pinned Renner. And so Renner's so tough on top. I don't know another person that could pin anybody though in the state, and that's him. He could twist you in a knot in several different ways.
Yeah.
And so, but I tell you what, if anybody could catch him and is strong enough to catch a Renner, just strength wise, because Renner's got a lot stronger. Here's the one thing Renner has in the
Dad's not very strong though.
Yeah, not strong at all.
Well, those two had a pretty good match earlier, didn't they? I mean, I didn't see the match, but I remember the result was fairly close, 2-point match or something.
Yep, and that was early in the season. Yep.
Yeah.
Well, probably even their first match of the season. It was a good match. So, and I know they're both working hard, but
right.
It'll be interesting. Well, we're sitting there over that hour time. It's amazing, and you thought this was going to be hard, Dave.
Oh man,
it's not that hard to talk about wrestling.
Right? No, exactly. Yep.
Not at all. So, Bill, before we talk any of our stuff, if you want to talk about stuff, let me roll through the questions with him.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll do my quick fire questions with you. And if you've watched a few of the shows, you've seen them. So I'll just pull up my couple things, and I'm going to ask you just personality question type things that you think. Usually what we do on this is we ask a little. I haven't asked this question, but what is your number one coaching philosophy? That's the first one I want to ask. If you have a coaching philosophy that you'd like to pass on to your wrestlers.
I guess that's kind of that's some of those you can't say on here.
Okay, well, hard work. Yeah, that's true.
Be tough.
Be tough.
Yep.
Okay, here's some more of the quick fire questions then. Okay, Gatorade or Powerade?
Gatorade.
Any particular color?
I like the orange.
Orange. Are you popsicles or dilly bars?
Popsicles.
Okay. Orange also?
I kind of like them blue ones, to be honest with you.
Okay. Mama's boy or rebel?
Well, I'm telling you, I'm gonna go rebel.
Okay.
I feel like stepping outside the box here a little bit.
Most cowboys probably pick that they're a little bit on the rebel side. Fast-paced or consistently slow?
I like going fast.
There we go.
I like when things are rolling.
Okay. Do you want your athletes to be physical or mental athletes?
Oh man, that's you have those that you want them to be physical, and then you got those that you need them to be mental, right? So that's kind of a tough one, but I'd say mostly. I mean, I like our guys physical. I do like physical. I like a hard-nosed kid.
Okay. Favorite holiday?
Christmas. I love presents. I really like presents.
Are you a Dan Gable or Cale Sanderson?
Man, I got to go Dan. I like Dan. He's the legend.
Okay. And then if you do have a college team that you would follow?
I mean, yeah. I like to follow DSU, and I like to follow Mary. I like to follow Northern. I like to follow the Bison. I like all our North Dakota guys in there.
Awesome. Because Dick Dickinson, I tell you what, does a great interview. I'm going to have to get that head coach on for that too sometime. I think Dickinson State would be great.
Yep.
Favorite number?
Number one.
Number one. Best wrestler you ever wrestled?
I would say probably the best wrestler that I ever wrestled. The first one that comes to mind would be Chris Nelson. Nelson and Cale Dangrud. We had some really good matches. I always got to remind Cale that we wrestled a ton of times. I said, and you never beat me once. And then he has to remind me that I was 2 years older than him too. But Chris Nelson to me, when I was wrestling, I mean, he was a semifinals match for me, and we had some good matches, and I really like Chris. I like watching him too. So,
well, awesome. Okay, is there any habit you learned in wrestling that you still do today?
Sweat. I'll tell you, if I'm not feeling good, if I'd maybe been out a little late with the boys, or feel a cold coming on or whatever, I mean, you'll find me in the gym, and it's
get a sweat on.
Just every morning I got to go get a good sweat.
Well, that is pretty good. I haven't heard that one yet because I do a couple weird ones that I weigh in every morning.
They sound like one of my assistant coach, Riley Zachmeyer. He says he's always got to go check his weight.
And it makes no difference. I also drink water like I haven't had any for a couple days.
Right?
I drink a glass of water like gone.
Yep.
Water's the best tasting liquid still to me to today. I don't know why. And then there's no taste to it, but it's still the best.
Yep.
So those are the quick fire questions. Just get some good personality. Dave, you're a great host. And I tell you what, great person to come on. No ambassador of the sport. I really think you've done a great job in New Salem. I mean, you're the right guy in the right place at the right time. Yeah,
we got you brainwashed too.
Yeah. I'm serious. It's not an easy place for some people to come in and coach. You have to have the right mentality, and have, I don't know. It's a drive. It's something that, you have to have the right personality to get the kids. And being in a small town, I tell you what, I look back, I loved the small time I had there, and I wish I'd have spent more time because it's something special and good connection you have with a kid in a smaller town than you do even in a big town.
Right. Really and I appreciate the town, when you come in, you're you move into town or whatever, but and just jumping back, you talk about like the Will Mossbrooker and Jamie Mossberger. So now the guys that I wrestled with in high school, now it's their kids that are coming through the program, the Meyer, Ethan Meyer and Jesse Meyer and Jason Dahl, Riley Dahl, those guys. But now you got that group on that those guys on board that maybe you brainwashed on the way, probably, they whatever, but they do an outstanding job along with all, with those guys, and they're the ones that have made it easy. And I mean, I couldn't do this without them, and I sure as hell couldn't do it without Roxy doing all my computer work. And she's got, you talk about the weigh-in change and stuff like that. I'll guarantee you I wouldn't have caught that, but she sure would have, and she would have said, now make sure you got your weigh-ins are a half hour early and your weigh sheets are ready to go. And that's just how it rolls. I mean, we got a good little family thing going here. So
my wife would say it's your problem.
Right? Yep, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, Bill, anything else? Now, if you can stay on if you want, Dave, we're just going to talk a little bit more wrestling. I know we've gone a little bit, but anything, yeah. Bill, right away? What you got going?
Yeah, no, it's it's hard to it's hard to know how far you go back, right? We had a great weekend of wrestling. Last week, Division II wrestling, we had a pretty Northern had a pretty nice win over Wisconsin Parkside, so they're 2-0 against two top ranked team, two nationally ranked teams.
Mary and Minot
wrestled. What's that?
Mary and Minot wrestled.
Mary and Minot wrestled. That was a really, really close duel. It came right down to heavyweight. Actually, really good win for
Tudor.
For Tudor, yeah, over Jordan Will.
Yep.
So now Northern makes a trip up to Minot tomorrow. So we're gonna get to see that whole squad again. So that'll be fun. Our buddy Jim McCoskey's team wrestles at Upper Iowa, so that'll be a heck of a battle for them. I know that both those teams are really tough. And
are you going to Minot?
I am going to Minot. Yep, I am.
Did you have to get tickets in advance for that?
No. I think they're pretty open.
Okay.
Yeah, they're pretty open. They just got to wear a mask, I think. But yeah, they're in pretty good shape up there. So Augustana, South Dakota team, obviously wrestles. St. Cloud State will be coming to town. They actually took a week off last week due to COVID, so they'll be coming in hot, I'm sure, to Augustana. They're really good. Moorhead must wrestle. Oh, Mary. They wrestle Mary on Sunday. At Mary on Sunday. So that'll be Moorhead took it on the chin to Upper Iowa, I think, last week. So Bill, Chris Delson will have those guys ready. Mason wrestling in his hometown, so they'll get to see him wrestle. They've had 2 home duels so far with no fans, so I'm sure that'll have those guys ready to go. That'll be a Sunday afternoon duel. So,
hey, you want to know a real treat on that duel?
Yeah.
Richie Steidler gets to. I think he's going to be doing the broadcasting on that.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah.
And Steidler asks Dave about the Norwegian midget he wrestled in Mexico.
Candace needs to go to bed.
Mikey.
Yeah, so that's kind of the Division II scene. I think NDSU didn't really wrestle last weekend. They do have a big weekend this week. They're going out to Fresno State, or maybe not at Fresno, but they're going west. I think they're going to wrestle at Cal State Bakersfield maybe, but they will wrestle Troy's Fresno team. They wrestle Cal State Bakersfield and Cal Poly. So it actually might be at Cal Poly, but they're heading west. So that's those guys. Iowa, beat the crap out of Nebraska, and Nebraska is one of the top 5 teams in the country probably. So Iowa's really good. They're gonna.
I watched that duel.
They're gonna wrestle Minnesota this weekend. That's not going to be real pretty. You might see a couple of good matches in there, but I think that's a duel. Probably Iowa wins 8 of the matches probably.
Right. Do you think when you look through the rankings with Iowa, were they underseeded? Really, when I looked at the wrestlers, they had a lot of guys that were in the 7 range, and
well, that's probably where I don't know who that would be. Obviously, you got Spencer Lee's one. DeSanto will be probably in that 4 or 5 range, I suppose, and you don't know where he's going to end up because you don't know what he's going to do. But there's going to be a few guys that are going to be ahead of him. 41. Ironman's there. Yeah, I think he's number 1. And
Ironman should be coming from.
And it'll be interesting how that all shakes out. As the season goes on, he's a guy that can definitely drop a match here and there, but he can score so many points and pin people from every direction. So at 49, Max Murin will be. He's just a tough.
They had him, I think, 6. Yep.
Yeah, and that's probably right. But he could surely come. But that's a pretty tough weight class. That's a deep weight class. 49, 57.
That's young. They had him 8.
Yeah, and he's kind of that's where he is. He's a guy that could place anywhere from 3rd to 8th, I would think, when you come to the national tournament time. 65, Marinelli will be. They probably have him seated, and he's probably ranked what? He's probably not 1.
Number 2 behind Lewis.
Yeah. So
from Virginia Tech.
He could beat Mackay too, but Mackay's a tough matchup for a guy like Alex, just because he's so explosive on his feet. And then he beat him at the national tournament a couple of years ago. That's why but he could surely win it. So
right. And then Kemmerer should be 1.
74, he should be 1. He didn't wrestle last week.
Right.
Be interesting to see if he wrestles this week. 84, they had Nelson Brands. He looked really good. Looks a little. He's probably a little undersized, but he looked every bit as big. He looks like he's filling out.
He wasn't ranked last time.
No, I didn't even know who was going to start. I don't think. He's 6th now. I think.
Okay.
I think he's moved to 6, but he's lost to he wrestled 84 last year. So when you start looking at rankings, the guys he lost to last year are going to be ahead of him.
Sure.
97, Cash Wilkie.
No, that's Warner.
I mean Warner. I was thinking Wilkie because he actually beat Brands last year in a.
If anybody looked pretty good though for Nebraska was Schultz.
Oh yeah, Schultz is good. He's ranked. I think he's number 2. So he's good.
That was the guy I was impressed with. Anybody from Nebraska
and Warner, and then at heavyweight,
Cassiope, which is never going to beat Stevenson. And then he's
never going to beat any of the top 3. He'll be
Paris. He shouldn't beat either.
And
so
then
in the Big Ten, he might be lucky to take 3rd, 4th because Hilger's in there.
Yeah, I would say 4th. I would say he's 4th. Now Hilger got beat this weekend by the heavyweight from Illinois.
Okay. That's stuff that I miss. I don't catch them all, and still.
Yeah, no, Illinois actually did. Illinois something to talk about. They came out and got 2 wins. They beat Ohio State and they beat Wisconsin, and the heavyweight beat. There we go. Yeah, and then the heavyweight, won both of them. He beat Hilger too. So yeah, it was pretty some good wrestling there. And I would say Tony's right in the sense that Nelson Brand is probably I would say he's probably going to end. He could end up higher than 6, right?
But I knew they were ranked
wrong. He's probably not ranked wrong, but he hasn't had a chance to put some wins in there to overcome what he's had in the past. So, but he's a guy I could truly root for. I worked at Fargo one year, and he was at my mat, it seemed like, every round, and just a super nice kid, just real down, just kind of fun to watch, and real just pleasant to have around you,
Yeah.
So that was kind of goes back to the Shane Sparks discussion we had the other day. Some of these guys that just are killers on the mat, and then they walk up the mat and they're just the nicest guys in the world, and he seemed to be one of them, and so he's a pretty easy kid for me to root for.
Well, I tell you what, guys, anything else, Bill? Because we're sitting at that hour 20. I want to kind of cut her here, but I guess what, guys, I tell you what, it's as much as we can do. Like Bill and I have said since day one, we're staying positive. We're praying that matches go every week. We've been happy that there has been. So as every week goes on, it's better and better and better. And you got to deal with the cards that are dealt to you, and play with them. So it's coming down. I tell you, we're on that home stretch. Usually have the East-West and all that other good things. I remember have such great memories of the East-West in the barn, we used to call it, go and wrestle there. Yeah. What is the last thing for New Salem coming up for the rest of the season? And then we'll probably call it a night.
We got our region duels next week, Friday at home here. We moved them to the 29th, and they're going to be in New Salem. And then on the 30th, we got some duels. We got St. Mary's coming out. We got Bishop Ryan's coming. Northern Lights is coming. Bowman will be here. Valva's coming down to duels. So we got some pretty nice duels on Saturday. And then I'm not sure. It's kind of up in there. We don't know if we can wrestle after the 30th or not. So.
Right. They're trying to give a 10-day window in there before state.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like. But so yeah. Hey, quick little college shout out for Berwick. He had his he had his debut this weekend, and
in 2 matches.
Took a couple lumps, but
he looked good. He looked good out there.
I mean, he looked good. He wrestled kind of his style. He'll be fine. He had one pretty. I mean, I thought he could have got one of those 2, but he looked good. He'll get them. It was fun to watch them. Watched them both.
Yeah.
We had mentioned their Dickinson State. I saw that. I was following some results, and there's a lot of North Dakota kids on that team, and I follow them. Don't get me wrong. I do. I watch. I look at every result, but it's always hard for me to talk about every one of them on here. But
that's awesome.
I do like to see them. And actually, they were down at Northwestern University or Northwestern College, I guess, in Iowa this weekend, and we got a Carrington kid that wrestles there too. Austin Hendrickson wrestles there, and he was in the lineup this weekend. He had 3 duels and went 1-1 and had a forfeit. But
I didn't realize how big he got.
Yeah, well, 174 pounds. I don't know that he's 170. Last year he wrestled 49. So, but he maybe isn't a full size 74. But he doesn't. I've watched a few matches online early in the year, and looks plenty good. He's tall. He's a tall kid. He got a little bit taller, I think, too. But so it's good to see all those guys going, and I like to see every one of these North Dakota, South Dakota kids wrestling in college. So.
I think them Dickinson guys got some duels this weekend up there. Yep. Dickinson and Mary's got Moorhead State, right?
Yep. So Saturday, Sunday, we got some college duels. We got a couple, like I said, we got Northern at Minot tomorrow night. It'll be fun weekend of college wrestling again. We got Region 2 and Region 1, I think both having their regional duels this weekend.
Is that this weekend they're doing it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Saturday.
Gotcha.
I assume, I think
Yeah.
about Saturday. Yep.
Mhm.
Yep. I don't know.
An AD's nightmare this year. ADs can't keep any of that stuff straight anymore. You know, everything they're on the fly and everything else. So, but,
well, let's get through that state tournament and have everybody healthy till then, and we'll see what happens at the state wrestling tournament. Let's play this out. And,
all right.
Definitely. Well, guys, again, Dakota Grappler Live. We will have a great guest come Sunday evening. We're going to have Milo Trusty and Monty Trusty on at the same time. Father, son, great history and tradition. Love to talk to them. I'd like to get Milo on and really drill him. You know, I got pounded by him a couple times in the room, so no. Milo should be a great guest. I'm hoping everybody come out and see. Go out and promote the sport. Go see these last matches. We'll be at state before you know it. Bill, thank you again for being on, and Dave, I wish you the best of luck the rest of the season. And really, I do appreciate you coming on. You guys have a great night.
Good luck, Dave.
thanks, man. Appreciate it, you guys.
You bet.
Always. You bet. Anytime.